there, and welcome to Catherine's Conversations in the Country. I'm Catherine Lane, and normally we do this in the country at my house, but we had some logistic issues with a guest I really wanted to have on today. Her name is Jenn Roman, and she is a licensed clinical social worker, and we're here to talk about hopefully giving you some information that could possibly save your kids, and I'm not being melodramatic, Jenn. I mean, sometimes it's life or death information. Hopefully some people will get that today. I know mental health issues or raising my children, helping to raise my grandchild. Of course, I was concerned about their feelings. How are you? But I made more sure that they got to the doctor in time and got their shots, and I took more care with their physical health when really mental health is just as important.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that we are in a generation now that is more aware of mental health. There's more being taught. Social media plays a role in that, good and bad, in terms of mental health. But it starts with us. We got to take good care of our own mental health and then pass that down to our kids.
Yeah. So how soon should we talk to our children about mental health? Or should we start as soon as you start communicating with them when they're little?
Absolutely. I think one thing that people struggle with is identifying how they're actually feeling, right? We know that we feel something, but what is that called? So just working with kids when they're really little, like, this kind of feels like frustration, or this is how I'm feeling, right? Kids learn by how we model things. So mom, dad, is feeling frustrated or angry, or I'm sad, and it's going to be okay, right? That piece that we leave out so often is I'm sad, but I can manage it. And letting kids know that happy doesn't last forever, right? Sad doesn't last forever, and that we can move through the full spectrum of emotions.
Yeah, I think you touched on it, because I always tell my children, happiness is temporal. You're not supposed to be happy all the time. And I think a lot of kids today struggle with the instant gratification of happy, or that a like makes them feel good. I've heard it actually releases dopamine, in kids' brains, that they get a little tingle every time someone approves of something that they're doing, or the way that they look. And that's what is different between raising kids now and raising kids when I was raising mine. I mean, I feel like that will never stop for me, but when they were little, is that now we have to fight a different kind of mental health issues. It doesn't work anymore to say, suck it up, kid, you'll be fine. It's a little more in depth than that now.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and I don't know, like, suck it up, you'll be fine. I guess we made that work, right?
Yeah.
Back in our day. Suck it up. Okay. That's going to come out of our mouths sometimes. Let me show you how we can make this manageable. Some things aren't going to be fine.
Right.
We have some tough life experiences, but let's learn how to manage this together.
How do we get those skills, those tips on teaching them how to manage?
Okay, so we need to be in a good place with our own mental health, right? And there's going to be good and bad days with that. So making sure that we're modeling, taking care of ourselves. If we need therapy, going to therapy. Certainly therapy is private, so you don't want to disclose what you've spoken about in therapy, but sharing the coping skills that you've learned. Like, sometimes when I feel down, I watch a show. Personally, for me, I love Golden Girls. Okay, I'm a Golden Girl.
Right, that's your escape.
That's my escape. Let me just do, 22, 24 minutes of watching Blanche with all of her men and enjoying life a little. Just for a reset, a little comedy break, that works for me. Now let's find out, everyone has to find out what works for them. A walk, being with the dog. Oh my gosh, that is my number one recommendation if you're a dog person. And then sharing that with our kids. This is what I do. You want to come do this with me? What feels good for you? I'd like to participate in that with you. Going, throwing the ball around or whatever.
Help them find whatever it is that helps them get in a better place, helps them get over, the sadness, because like the breakups are coming. There's going to be grief coming. There's going to be some really hard sadnesses on the way. So if you can get them on a path of helping the little cuts when the big cuts come, hopefully it'll be more manageable.
Yeah, and understanding that the first time those cuts do happen, it's going to be tough because they have no framework to understand how this can possibly work out. Like that first breakup is devastating because they've never gotten to the other side of a breakup before.
Right.
And so instead of saying, well, we've all been there, it's going to be okay, let's say, I know you're feeling really bad right now. Let's spend some time together and let's just sit in the space together. I want you to know I'm here for you.
And different children are going to handle things differently based on their own, brain chemistry, their own experiences. How can we tell when a teenager, it's not normal, brooding teenage behavior? It might be something more serious. What are some signs?
Trust your gut, number one, right? We know our kids, we know when something's off, even if they tell us differently. Trust your gut. Big changes in behavior, but sometimes, they're not always going to do something huge, like completely isolating themselves. It could be small forms of isolation, like they change friend groups, they stop hanging out with their friend groups. You notice them and maybe their bestie aren't talking anymore. Well, something must have happened. They quit doing activities that they used to do. Change in appetite, right? They're like, if they're just not eating, typically for teenagers, that's not something that's going on. They pretty much, eat around the clock. They're growing. Right. I'm trying to think what else, like change in sleeping habits, absolutely could be one. But what are they listening to? What are they surrounding themselves with? And never underestimate the value of sitting down with a kid and just saying, what's on your mind? I want to know. I'm interested in your life.
And if I can just share from my perspective, I think certainly one thing that I wish I had done differently is we experienced a lot of problems with our grandson, Aiden, who ultimately did take his life. And so now it's my mission to hopefully just give someone some little tidbit of information that they might can use so that they have a healthy, happy family. But when he was cutting himself. And I told him, Aiden, you can't do that here. Basically, I was saying, I don't want to see that. I instead of saying, hey, if you feel like that urge is coming over you, come talk to me, come get me. I think I made the mistake of not validating that was a real need that he had. And so validating what they're going through, telling them they can come to you with anything is so important, no matter what it is. I don't care if you broke somebody's fence or whatever it is, and you feel like you can't come to me, you can with whatever. And I think that's important information that your children understand.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for sharing your feelings on that. But I think it's beneficial for people to hear. But we have to keep our word, though, right? When we say that. Yeah. If our kids ask us, "Can I tell you something?" and you're not going to get mad. If you tell them you're not going to get mad, you can't get mad. So sometimes you say, "I can't promise I'm not going to get mad, but I'll help you through it." So
that's good. I love that. I love that.
They're going to make us mad.
Right. Yeah. But they can always come to us with anything. And we'll work through it together. And Jenn, as always, I want to give out the 988 number for any mental health crisis. It's not just a suicide hotline. It's also a mental health crisis hotline. I've used it myself. It helped me through. And thank you so much for coming and sharing with us today.
Thank you. Big love.